back. I had some people reaching out saying, it's about time they canceled that show, or I hadn't heard from those guys in a while. We all knew it was going to be a quick run, but
Wow.
against all odds, here we are. Mark Gunnels, Coast to Coast is back. What's up?
Wow, I can't believe you were getting those messages. That's crazy. It must have just been on your end because they didn't like you. Because I didn't get any messages like that. So they're probably like, this Aaron guy, we had enough of him. So let's just send him hate mail. We knew you guys wouldn't make a run. We knew it would be short lived. Just a flash in a pan.
That's
One
the
hit
Gunnels
wonder.
Hive. That's the Gunnels Hive talking.
He needs a new co-host.
Aaron Ladd and Mark Gunnels, against all odds, against all the haters, we back. We took a little bit of a break. We're doing every other week. Didn't feel like it was appropriate to pod after the tragedy that happened in Texas last time, but we're back. We're talking Chiefs, if there's any even Chiefs to talk about, Mark. But let's start behind the scenes, because it's been a little while, but we never got to take this on mic. We finally had the link up, man.
Oh, yeah. So, early last month, man, I went to Kansas City, even though Aaron says I never come back home.
Apparently. I had to give you the keys to the city to let you back in.
I was actually in Kansas City. Yes, guys, I was there. I had a little cousin. He graduated from high school. Shout out to Malachi Fields. He graduated from Grandview High School, class of 2022. But, I was out there for a week, and me and Aaron got to link up on good old Westport,
Stomping grounds, man. I had to show you around my city. I know you like to claim you're a kid from Kansas City and all this stuff. You're allegedly from the KC Metro, but it was good to have you in the city, man. Finally got to link up, had a couple beverages, and toasted to the next 20 episodes of Coast to Coast, man. It was good to finally get that done.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Now we just need you to get out to LA.
Bet the house, right? We had it. Bet the house. We were there. We had the whole link up plan.
You're never gonna let that go, are you?
This might as well be called Bet the House. We just changed the name from Coast to Coast. I'm never letting that go, Mark.
Oh my gosh. What about how many Bet the House bets do I have to win next year in a row for you to let that go?
I give you 3. That's not even a high number. 3.
I have to hit 3 in a row or just 3 in general?
3 in a row. So we're not doing over under. This is straight money line. So for y'all betting guys, since Gunnels is such a betting guy, betting expert, I need 3 correct predictions in a row on the Chiefs schedule, and I will no longer say bet the house. You got it on wax right here.
Okay, it's on record. You guys heard that.
The question is, are you going to get 3 in a row right?
I'm going to get 3 in a row for sure next year. 100%. 100%.
Man, let's get to this Chiefs stuff, because there's not much going on, but it seems like what's going on has been extremely viral, and everybody's talking about it. I think first and foremost, we would be remiss if we didn't start with the Cheetah, no longer a member of the Chiefs organization, but still stirring up Chiefs Twitter, that podcast clip. And this was a page out of your playbook. That's what it really was. He posted the little snippet just to get the talk going, right? He didn't really say anything in the clip, but just to get the talk going, you put the clip out there asking if maybe the Chiefs suppressed his stats. What did you think about everything surrounding this and what led up to this, what happened with Tyreek Hill's podcast?
I found this so fascinating, and this is why I have a love-hate relationship with Chiefs Kingdom sometimes, because the way they reacted, you would have thought that Tyreek Hill literally said that the Chiefs suppressed my stats. Those words did not come out of his mouth. The host of the show, I'm sorry, I don't know the young man's name. He's the one that presented the question. Obviously, Tyreek had a lot to do with the production of it. We know that. And Drew Rosenhaus, obviously, it was to create buzz, and they did it. They did it. They got exactly what they wanted from that. But the fact that Chiefs fans were attacking Tyreek as if he literally said they were suppressing my stats just blew my mind. It's like, did you actually listen to the clip? It's like you just wanted a reason to hate on Tyreek Hill, and I don't understand it. And I've been seeing a lot of Tyreek Hill slander from Chiefs fans. Maybe I'm just more mature now because I'm not just a fan. I'm part of the media now. So maybe that's why I took a back seat. Wow. So I'm not as emotionally invested as your typical fan is. But I still love Tyreek Hill. I understood why he made the move. Look at it. It was a money move. It was a lifestyle decision. Miami or Kansas City? I mean, come on. You know I love KC, but come on. It's not too hard to pick between those two cities.
Just
Money.
disrespectful to our city. This is why you from LA, dog. This is why you from LA, dog.
I'm gonna leave it off wax. I know you ain't talking. Anyway, and then he got more money there. He already won a championship, so it's not like he has to ring chase. He already has that. And for some guys, just getting one is enough. He doesn't have to get 2, 3, 4, 5. I just believe he's still a future Hall of Famer, as long as he at least has decent, solid stats for the next 4 or 5 years. And I think he should, because Miami's going to force feed him the ball in that system. So it's okay. What he did for the Chiefs is never going to go away. He's going to be able to come back, get his jersey retired, or be in the Ring of Honor or whatever. It's okay. He's the best Chiefs receiver in Chiefs history. Let it go. He didn't say anything bad in the clip. You guys just want to be mad for no reason.
A couple things with this, and I want to put the trade to the side, because I think with every little new nugget we get from Tyreek Hill, it's like we have to revisit the trade. Was it a good trade? Why did the Chiefs make this trade? Why is Tyreek there? Let's put that to the side. Specific to this podcast clip and the speculation that the Chiefs possibly suppressed his stats is one of the most jokeable accusations I've ever heard of, Mark. I might go full Gunnels here, because it's laughable, right?
If you watch targets he had last year,
if you watched any of Kansas City, man, he was making them go, especially when you think about where this team was through 7 games, man. 3 and 4, they only had a couple of plays that worked. And one of them was, hey, y'all stand over here, and Tyreek Hill, you run this way. Like the thought that, and of course, Tyreek Hill came out in this football camp run that he's been doing most recently in Olathe here in the Kansas City area, and basically said, hey, a lot of this is clickbait. A lot of y'all took the cheese out of the mousetrap on this one and got caught. I'm going to explain a little bit more in the podcast, but basically they didn't suppress my stats. And everybody who watches his teams knows that. I think it was peak offseason. Like when there's nothing to talk about and we're throwing up these 30-minute podcasts, this is a topic that we talk about, because it's a whole bunch of nothing. It's not true. And it just causes more speculation. I really just think it's more window dressing on kind of the ripple effects from the trade overall, Mark.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like I said, I get it. Fans get emotional. And like what you said, the main thing is there's nothing to talk about. There's no really big Chiefs news right now. So when that Tyreek Hill thing came out at the perfect time, because this is like the dry period, right? Because, you got the mandatory mini camp, can't really take much away from that. Guys are just in t-shirts and shorts. So, I get it. Nothing to talk about. So let's cause an uproar about Tyreek Hill hinting that his stats were suppressed. But I'm actually looking forward to the podcast.
I was just about to ask, are you actually going to listen to the podcast? Now, I think it's called 100%. That needed to be said or something like that.
Yeah. I'm actually looking forward to it, because Tyreek Hill, and you were up close and personal with those press conferences and stuff. Like, he's a very outgoing personality. Like, he's not afraid to say what's on his mind. He's not like a PR type of guy. He'll even say stuff and be like, dang, I probably shouldn't have said that. Like, he's one of those type of guys. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing him in his own element, like without reporters there, unbuttoned, kind of just going off.
I'm going to be honest. The world did not need another podcast. Love Cheetah. Love what he stood for. Love what he's done for the kingdom.
You're not here for the Cheetah podcast?
Dog, you going to listen to an hour of Tyreek Hill talking? Be honest.
Well, at least the first episode, because it drew me in now. Like, I have to watch the first one for sure. And then
I think if Tyreek was on Spaces, now Gunnels is all over, right? Like, it's a Gunnels production. He's in the room. He's sharing it. But if it's an hour-long pod, I wonder how many people are listening to that at episode 6 or 7.
You're watching the first one for sure, though.
Yeah, and of course, there'll be articles and stuff. We'll get a little bit more context to what the clip was, which I think will be cool and newsworthy. And honestly, that was the goal of this whole thing, right? Like, you get eyes on one episode more than probably would have been had you just soft launched it or launched it right away.
Yeah.
Tyreek won in this situation. He won. It's that simple.
But I will say this, though. I feel like he kind of missed his window of dropping a podcast. Like
I agree.
he should have done it with the Chiefs. The
Yeah.
Chiefs are way more interesting. Imagine if you started the podcast the year that Patrick Mahomes became the starter, and he was
Yeah.
doing it since then for the last 4 years. That would be a really good podcast because we'll get the ins and outs of Patrick Mahomes and the dialogue with Andy Reid, Travis Kelce during those playoff runs, the comeback against the Texans, the Super Bowls, the wins and the losses. Like, we'll get all of that. So I think he missed the window to really get the ratings that he's looking for, because how interesting is Miami Dolphins really? I mean,
I think he also a couple things he mentioned kind of in this the football camp interviews and the run-ups, and reporters asked him about it. He said, "Yo, some teams have different rules. Some of the things I was able to do in here in Miami, I wasn't able to do in Kansas City. Maybe podcasting was one of them." He also mentioned, and this is definitely cap, but I just got to say it. He basically was like, it wasn't about the money for me. The money was cool. It was a good added bonus, and I'm kind of paraphrasing there. But he was basically like, yo, I'm going to Miami to win. I'm going to bring him to a Super Bowl. And the money was kind of just.
Oh, man. You got to love the. See, I just said, I gave him too much credit. I said he doesn't give the PR talk,
Yo, what's wrong with just saying I got paid? I got money. I got money now.
Guys just don't want to say that because then it comes off as they don't love the game and they're just in it for the money, and they don't want that reputation on them. I get it.
Tyreek, we know. I mean, you ain't got to lie. You ain't got to lie to kick it, dog. We already know. Let's transition to Frank Clark because a couple of his photos touched the timeline since we've been gone. You kind of brought this to my attention. I hadn't seen this. This was a football camp at North High School. I don't think it was local to the KC area, but Frank Clark has a different appearance. I'm wondering if you think him slimming down can help his game.
So, yeah, when I first saw the photos, I ain't going to lie to you, I really didn't think it was him to be at first. I was like, wow, okay. I didn't really know how to process it. I'm still kind of digesting it as we speak. But I will say this. I think considering that he's an edge rusher, it could benefit with his speed off the edge, his bend and getting to the quarterback quicker. Because, I mean, he's a strong guy. He's been strong, but that wasn't really his strength, right? Because when he was in his prime, it was all about his speed. Like, he got great speed off the edge. He's one of those guys that's very explosive. He can get there in so seconds. And we haven't seen it the past couple of years. He's been very slow and just really kind of stuck in mud, to be honest with you. Like, he's getting some pressures here and there, but he's not closing the deal. So this could be a good thing, but I'm not going to overanalyze it too much right now.
Yeah, this is best shape of your life season, right? Like, every player is going to say that. Every picture we see of a guy from a certain angle, we're going to start thinking that they in the best shape of their life and that kind of thing. I'm not putting any weight into this whatsoever, man. This is another off-season topic. Now, would it help him to lose some weight and get off the edge? Sure. I didn't think he was in necessarily bad shape last year, but maybe some of the conditioning issues that we saw. We know this is a guy that also is known to have he's had some stomach issues in the past that have kind of flared up towards the start of training camp and sometimes during the regular season that have limited his availability in practice. And maybe that's why he's kind of stuck in mud, as you said, towards the end of the year. This D-line room, man, I mean, if we talk about wide receiver 2 for the first 8 episodes of this podcast, we're going to be talking about this D-line room for the next 80 episodes of this podcast because they just haven't done enough to really help ease Chiefs Kingdom's concerns after how we saw them go out last year, man. 1 sack against a unit. They gave up 9 sacks the week before. They need an improved Frank Clark, and maybe losing 10 to 15 helped him out.
Yeah, and back to the D-line, it seems like, and at this point, this is kind of concerning to me, but they're putting a lot of stock in Karlaftis being that guy in year one.
Absolutely.
And he's a guy that got a lot of pressures, but if you look at his sack totals in college, he only had 7 sacks last year. 7.
He's raw.
Right.
I mean, he's
Right.
only been playing the game for so long too.
No,
Like,
100%, 100%.
yeah,
But that's my point, though. That's my point. They didn't do much to address the D line, so he's going to have to play heavy snaps right now on paper. I mean, because between him and Frank Clark, who else are you relying on the edge? No more Melvin Ingram.
yeah, I was gonna mention that.
Chris Jones is back inside now. So I mean, I, they're gonna have to grow up fast.
Do you have any
Karlaftis have
faith
to
in
grow up fast.
what about Kane taking the next step?
Well, I want to believe in Kane but how much do the Chiefs actually believe in him? But maybe you're gonna have to now because your depth is a lot thinner than it was last year. So he's a guy that I think they just don't want to throw away. I mean, they spent what, a 4th-round pick on him. So
In that range, yeah.
yeah. So he's a guy that you want to get some production out of. You don't want to just that to be a wasted pick. I mean, he's still very young, out of high school. This guy was a 5-star recruit. Obviously, the things didn't go exactly well how you wanted it to at Florida State, but the raw talent is obviously there. I mean, the guy passes all the measurables. He has long arms. He's very athletic. He's big, fast. So, like I said, man, right now, as of right now, unless they get a veteran or make a trade like they did for Melvin Ingram in the middle of the season last year, they're going to depend on Karlaftis and then potentially Kando to grow up and be productive this year because you can't put all that weight on Frank Clark. I mean, look at his injury history. I never want to predict injuries, but is he really going to play 17 games? Highly unlikely. So you're going to have other guys that haven't produced or you haven't even seen yet be contributors this year.
I mean, Mark, you know what time it is with me and Frank Clark. I think I wrote about this on Arrowhead Pride, one of my first stories. I thought it was time for the Chiefs to kind of move on from him. This is a deal that hasn't really worked out from him in the last recent years. 4.5 sacks last year, which was I'm actually kind of surprised it was 4.5. Over under 4.5. Where do you have Frank Clark next year?
I'll go over. Just because I think he's going to have more opportunities.
I would say also he's probably going to be healthier coming into the season.
Yeah.
Last year there was some of that legal issue stuff too, and I don't know, man. I just look at the Chiefs D-line on paper and still feel like they could use another move or two, and that's even, like you said, considering Karlaftis is a rookie and trying to exceed those expectations. It's just it's starting, and another one of these offseason topics that I've seen a lot on the timeline is like, oh, well, Chris Jones' contract could kind of get moved too. Like this could be his last season with KC. If it was the O-line for Reach that first time around after the Super Bowl, and then we saw the DBs get reloaded and the safety room as well. I think the D-line is probably under construction, if you will. Put the hard hatch on Brett Veach.
Yeah, you can even throw a receiver in there to a certain extent as well, as far as being revamped. So, yeah, man, I really believe that the Chiefs are going to have to make a move. I'm not sure who's out there, but there's always going to be a potential trade partner before the trade deadline, like they got Melvin Ingram for nothing. Yeah, that was the big deal because we pretty much assumed that Ingram was going to be back, right? Like that was pretty much the assumption after the season. Like, yeah, he's probably going to be back, and they had the tender option, and then now he joined Tyreek Hill in Miami. That was definitely a blow.
I think the tender probably should have told us, in hindsight, right? The tender told us that they weren't going to get him. And I actually remember asking Brett Veach this on Zoom because we had never heard of this tender. I think there was a couple NFL insiders too that were like, "Yo, this is rarely used. They never really heard of it." And I asked Brett Veach after that kind of got applied. He talked with the media on Zoom for about 30 minutes, and he's really great with kind of breaking things down. And as far as asking anyone in the Chiefs organization questions on the record, I think you get the most transparent and clear information from Brett Veach. And he was basically saying, hey, we don't really know which way he's leaning, but this is an option if he doesn't come back. And I think that answer was probably the PR way of saying it's probably not going to work out, and this is what we're getting in return. Especially when you saw his number got given away too. Sometimes you connect a couple of dots and you're like, maybe this could be nothing, but
yeah, I didn't even correlate that. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't even.
Yeah, I think Sky Moore is 24 now, and that was announced right after the draft, and I was like, oh, okay.
That's so ugly for a receiver number, by the way.
Man, people hate on him for that. I don't really care. I know Brady came out right away and was like, a receiver should never wear, but I mean, it's swag, dog.
I mean, I'm gonna get used to it, but That's just so ugly, bro.
You so Grandpa Gunnels. That's my next Photoshop, dog. You talk about I'm a
Wow.
matured member of the media now, so I didn't fall for that shenanigan that Tyreek Hill played.
Yeah, man. I'm seasoned now, man. I'm a little buttoned up, man. You know, I
He
don't
said
fall
I'm
for these.
so come into the press box then. What's your season behind? Come into the press box, hop on Zoom, start asking some. Yeah.
Hey, man. That's where you shine at, man. So you know, I let the young buck take care of that, man. You know, Grandpa Gunnels is gonna just sit over here on the couch with his feet up, man, with drinking some beers. Hey, speaking of drinking beers, how about Patrick Mahomes? Did you watch the match? We got to talk about the
Uh,
match.
I did not watch the match. It was on in several locations that I was at, but I did not watch. Dog, come on, man. And I said
How
this.
are you? Come on. How are you the mayor of Kansas City now? And you didn't watch our quarterback play in the match against Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers? Come on, man. How did you not watch that?
I saw Josh Allen drive, and it hit a fan in far right. I'm like, all right, I seen enough. If I
At
want
that
to,
point, you're out.
I'm good. And I don't like that Brady is likable now. Like to me, I will always hate Tom Brady. Y'all know what my allegiance is. I won't bring it up. I won't say the
28
team
to
name.
3.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. But ever since then, you know, it's that. And then my other connection with Brady is covering the Chiefs and covering a Super Bowl and Tom Brady ruining that experience as well. So I don't like that he's cracking jokes now. I don't like that he's good at social media now. I don't want to like Tom Brady.
It's funny you say that though, because I actually had a conversation with somebody the other day, and I was like, I said I literally hate how he's so likable now. Like the world was a lot better when he was the villain, and it was
No,
just so easy to root against him.
there was no COVID. There was world peace. Everybody was against Brady, right? Everybody
It
was
was like a
against.
package deal. It was Brady and Belichick. Like you hated both of them together. Like, but now he's in Tampa. Now he's got podcast or whatever. He's on social media. He's knows how to work TikTok now. Like, come on, bro. Like, what is going on? But regarding the match, I'm sure you saw snippets on Twitter and highlights and
Of
stuff
course, couldn't avoid it.
of Patrick Mahomes chugging 8 Coors Lights during the match. I mean, everybody was saying he's one of us. That's all I kept saying here. He was one of us, man.
He's a Lee Summit man through and through, huh? You know,
And people were slandering. I mean, he has a partnership with Coors Light, I believe,
yeah,
though. So
of course.
he has to drink Coors. But real beer drinkers know that Coors tastes like water.
Oh, you're a real beer drinker since when?
I'm a real beer drinker, man.
What's your favorite beer, Mark?
Wow, you put me on the spot there.
You said you a real beer drinker.
There's a lot in the conversation
Well,
here.
give me like a category because I don't like stouts. I'm more of an IPA guy.
I was just gonna say I like IPA.
Okay.
I'm a big IPA guy, and I actually do I like Bud Light Platinums. I'm a big Bud Light Platinum guy. Platinum, though. You got to not the regular Bud Light. You got to get the Platinum.
Mark Gunnels is looking for sponsorships. This is not a sponsored podcast, and you just giving out free free clout right here and there.
You never know, man.
Sheesh, man. We didn't have a schedule last time we talked. Let's finish up with Chiefs before we get out of here. It's gonna be a quick pod. I don't see any questions in here right now. I appreciate y'all rocking with us on the schedules too. I want to remind everybody we're doing every other week during the off season leading up to preseason and training camp, and then we'll come back to our once a week schedule. But we're doing every other week. We didn't do a podcast 2 weeks ago because of what happened in Uvalde, but we're back with y'all every other week, and we appreciate y'all rocking with us on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. We didn't have a Chiefs schedule. It was kind of an idea the last time we talked. Now it's a real thing. It's actually happening. That first 8 games, man, toughest in NFL history. If you look by win-loss record of last season, I'm giving Mark a little bit more time to Google the schedule now, so I'm kind of stalling here as I see him look on the computer screen.
That's so funny. How did you know I was doing that, bro? Like,
you say you a professional. Like, we both professionals here, sir. I know when somebody looks like they're scrambling, like in their eyes, you can tell. You can tell that they're looking. The first 8 games, Give me, and I think the bye week is week 8, and then week 9
Yes.
is that Tennessee game. So that'll be the first 8 games. What do you think their record is coming out of that stretch? Because that's specifically the gauntlet.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it right now, and obviously this is tentative. This isn't set in stone, so don't hold me to this, right? Because I can change it before the preseason. But as of right now, after those first 8 games, objectively, I'm gonna say 6-2. I was leaning 5-3, but I'm like, I think they can get 6-2. I really do. I think they can get 6-2.
You have them starting the year off much stronger than they did last year. And I've also seen some of the things you've written for Let's Argue on arrowheadpride.com about the offense and how it will respond after Tyreek Hill. So you have them hitting the ground running, Mark Gunnels.
Yes, I do. And I mean, if you really break it down, let's break it down real quick, right? Real quick. So week 1 against Arizona, no D-Hop. I think that's a win. Then you have the Chargers at home, season opener Thursday night. That's going to be a tough game, but since it's at home, the home opener, I think they win that game. I really do. Then you got at Indy. At Indy and then at Tampa, next 2 games. I think you split those. I don't know which one you lose, but I think you split those, right? I think that's fair. You lose one of those games, either the Colts or the Bucks. Then you're at home against Buffalo. That can go either way. And then you got at San Francisco with a first-year quarterback in Trey Lance. I think the Chiefs win that game. And then at home against Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee's not going to be that good this year. I'm not high on Tennessee this year. So, I mean, if you really break it down, it looks rough on paper. But if you really go game by game, and I skipped the Raiders game at home, but they're going to beat the Raiders, I believe, at home. So you lose one of those road games at Indy, at Tampa, and then you pick another one. Buffalo, maybe at San Francisco. So I like 6-2. I really do.
I'm mad that I agree with you, so I'm just going to change it a little bit slightly so we don't exactly agree and we can go back and forth once one of these becomes a reality. I'll go 5-3, and honestly, looking at it when it first dropped out, I could see 4-4. I published them possibly going 12-5 at the end of how it works out, and it's just because the first half is so daunting. We don't know what the team is going to look like week 1, and we know Chiefs. Week 1, just like every NFL team, week 1, your week 1 team and your week 18 team now, I mean, those are completely different animals. I trust the Chiefs coming out of the bye week to get things right because that's what Andy Reid does, whether they're entering on a winning streak or a losing streak. And then it softens up towards the end of the regular season, which you love. You start to get healthy at the end of the year. It's harder to win in Kansas City if you're not from Kansas City towards the end of the year as well. We know for the Chiefs, especially last year, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, Mark.
Yeah, and I just love how you just can't agree with me. It's okay, man. You don't have to be different.
This is we're going to agree on here for every podcast, man. I mean, people want to see some tension, dog.
I mean, but it's just it's June. It's not our set in stone record. It's subject to change, man. It's only June. It's a lighthearted show. It's the summer. So if we're going to have any type of agreements, now will be the time, right?
when no one's listening, right? Like, don't let anybody hear these. Once we start to get back.
I didn't say that. You said that. We're going to have listeners, man, because it's Mark Gunnels here. I mean, they're going to tune in for me. So, I'm going to bring the engagement off top. So
I'm so honored to be the Robin to your Batman. Another successful episode of the Mark Gunnels podcast on Mark Gunnels Podcast Network.
Why we didn't get no photoshops for this show? I didn't see no photoshops on Twitter or nothing, man. You're slacking, bro. You're in full summer mode. You're really slacking.
I'm out here with my thighs out.
You got your hoochie daddy shorts on?
I got my.
You got the hoochie daddy shorts on. Oh my God.
I appreciate y'all rocking with us. We're out. We'll see y'all next time. Thank you so much.